Motorbikes and utes go together like beer and pizza, but loading your bike isn't always as simple as it looks. Just ask these guys. There's a variety of different methods out there, but most loading fails come down to bad planning and preparation. So today I'm going to show you one foolproof and safe way to do it. I've got a bike, I've got a truck, let's get to it. First, let's talk equipment. You're going to want a nice sturdy ramp and a reliable set of tie downs. There's a few different styles of ramps, but I like folding ones like this because they're nice and portable. This one's also got lock-in pins so that the ramp won't collapse halfway through the act. You're also going to want a good ratchet strap, and you'll also want a step or a platform, kind of like this motorcycle stand that I'm using here. I'll show you what that's for in just a moment. Before you even touch the bike, you're going to want to make sure everything's prepped and ready to go. Attach your tie downs, one to each front corner, and make sure that you leave enough slack so they can reach the handlebars. It's also a good idea to keep the strap ends up high so you can reach them when you've got the bike up on the tray. Just make sure you don't scratch the paint. Make sure the ute bed is clear and line your ramp carefully up in the center of the tailgate or whichever side you're loading the bike onto. We've also thrown down a towel just to protect the tailgate, but make sure that the ramp isn't able to slide. And that step I mentioned earlier, you're going to want to place it next to the ramp, not too far and not too close from the tailgate. Unless you're blessed with really long limbs, you're going to need it to make the process nice and smooth. Now it's time to get the bike up on the back of the tray. You're going to want to line the front wheel up and make sure you've got enough space to have a little bit of momentum. Personally, I like to be on the left-hand side of the bike, so when I'm pushing it up and I get a little bit out of shape, I can grab that front brake, pull the handlebar down, and the bike's now pretty secure. It's not going to go anywhere. Then you can recompose yourself or simply let it roll back down. Of course, if you're loading the bike on the left side of the tray, you're probably going to need to be on the right side of the bike, so just adapt as needed. Depending on how comfortable you are, you can either leave the bike in neutral and just use the front brake to stop yourself, or you can put the bike in first gear and pull the clutch in. And if you need to stop, just slowly let the clutch out and the bike will come to a stop. When you're ready, you want to push the bike up the ramp. Lighter bikes should go up in one smooth motion, but heavier bikes will be a little bit trickier. If you need to pause, grab the brake, regain your balance, and then push the remainder of the way and step up onto the tailgate. In some situations where the bike feels just a little bit too heavy, you can actually start the bike, select first gear, pull the clutch in, and then just let the clutch out slowly with a little bit of throttle to let the engine help you push the bike up the ramp. You shouldn't need to give it too much throttle, just a little bit so that it's easy to push the bike up the ramp. Once you're up on the tray, the hard part is done. Make sure the front wheel is up hard against the front of the tray. A wheel chock can help sometimes, and it's also a good idea to put the bike in first to make sure it doesn't roll backwards. You can lean the bike on its side stand if you need a breather, otherwise just use your body to keep the bike upright. Grab the left side tie down and attach it to the bar, making sure to avoid cables if possible. If you can't reach the right tie down, give the left one enough slack so it leans to the right, and then jump around the other side and hook up the other one. Tighten both straps down so the bike is stable. Do a little bit on each side at a time to make sure it's even. You don't want the forks bottomed out, but you do want it tight enough so there's no side-to-side movement. Now you want to secure the back wheel to stop it sliding around while you're driving. So grab your ratchet strap and hook it up to the back corners of the ute. Now there's a few different ways to do this, but what I like to do is keep the strap up nice and high on that wheel and then tighten it up, because what that's going to do is pull the wheel down into the tailgate so it's nice and secure and it's not going to go anywhere. Now, before I continue, there is one important thing I should note. In situations like this where you can't actually put the tailgate all the way up, you can leave it down, but there's a few things you need to keep in mind. Firstly, you're probably not going to have a reverse camera because it's under here, so you want to remember that. You also want to make sure that the tail lights and indicators are visible and that the bike is very secure. But more importantly, you need to make sure that your number plate is visible from up to 20 meters away. Now, if you don't tick all of those boxes, then your setup is probably going to be illegal and you are liable to get penalized by the police if they pull you over. Fortunately, there are a couple of ways around this though. Firstly, you can get a swinging number plate system so you can see the plate from a distance while the tailgate is down. And the other simple trick is to simply angle the rear of the bike so that you can pull the tailgate up and everything is nice and secure. Next, pack up your gear, do a full walk around and make sure nothing's loose or rubbing. You don't want to miss something and have your precious metal fall and go sliding down the road. And when it's time to unload, simply repeat all those steps in reverse. Well, that's just one method for loading your bike onto the back of your ute, but if you do it properly, it's going to be a relatively easy and foolproof way to get your bike up on the tray. Of course, everyone else is going to have their own ways to load their bike, so tell us in the comments below how you do it. We really want to know.